Hello, today it's the beginning of February and it's Imbolc. Imbolc is the time of year where we celebrate the first signs of spring appearing and the days lengthening, and we're looking forward to the spring coming into full force. It's the midpoint between the winter solstice and the the winter solstice and the spring equinox. That's what I'm trying to say. There we go, finally. So today I thought we'd have a little wander around the garden just to see what's appearing. Imbolc is also associated with the goddess Brighid, which is a Celtic goddess of hearth and home, and if you've seen my earlier video you'll know that's the inspiration for my channel name. So I thought I'd better get out and make a video. I've been missing for a little while, so we're just going to see what signs of spring we can find and have a look what's growing in the garden. So I'll turn the camera around and we'll have a little wander. I'm going to start with my little herb border, and here we can just see the chives peeping through. Obviously not usable yet, but signs that growth is happening. And then we've got some sorrel. That's the red vein sorrel, which is quite hardy and will self-seed quite readily. And the good thing about what's growing in the winter is most of it self-seeds or is perennial, so it's really easy to look after. We've got some bunching onions there and some wild cabbage, which grows quite freely on the cliffs near the sea here. And I got a few seeds and it's taken in my garden. I've got quite a few of them scattered around. Got another little one here and another little one over there. They're quite new. This is their first year, so they will get quite tall and big, and they'll be sort of a similar size to the broccolis over there, or even bigger eventually. And we've got winter savoury, which is a herb that grows through the winter and is a bit like thyme but a bit more hardy, and we do have a little bit of thyme here, but it's not liking the cold. And we've got some more over there, and that came back from France when we went to France not last year, the year before. Wow, time flies, doesn't it? This is Claytonia, which is a winter salad green, also known as miner's lettuce or winter purslane. And this one self-seeds quite easily. It'll die back in the summer and then reappear. So it's taken over, it's spilled over into the pathway, and it's also seeded in the bed across the way. So we've got lots all along here, and obviously if it's in places where you don't want to eat, it's quite easy to pull up. Okay, what else have we got? I've still got a little bit of kale. This is the red Russian kale, but it stopped growing now. The light's not so great, but hopefully in the next few weeks it'll spring back to life and start growing again. And then we've got some walking onions there as well, and a little volunteer right in the middle of the oregano is a dandelion. And that's another good thing about winter time. There are a few forageables that appear in the garden as volunteers that we can make use of, and dandelion's definitely one that we can use. And then we have some sage still going. The broccoli's just about appearing, not quite ready but not far off. I'll have a look what's in this bed. Still got celery. It's actually doing really well. I thought this would die back, but it's actually doing really well. So we've got that. We've got some chard. This is the red chard, and I have a lot of this down in the bed down the track as well. that's self-seeded. That self-seeds really easily as well if you let it go to seed, although it can get quite big if you let it go to seed, so it depends on how much room you have in your garden as to whether that's worth doing. What have we got up here? We've still got a few bulb fennel, although it's not looking very happy in the cold and the snow, so we'll get that used up pretty soon, I think. Go around this way. We've got more celery, some little tiny Romanesco cauliflower. It is right tiny. Look, there's my finger. Look how tiny it is. So I'm not going to grow that again, I don't think, because look how much room it takes for that tiny little head. And I think the space is probably better used for something else until I get more land. We'll have a look in the polytunnel. This is a perennial cabbage that somebody at my allotment that I used to have gave me, but it's gone to flower. It normally is in leaf all winter, but I think the summer and the hot weather confused it and it went to seed, so hopefully it will right itself next season and we'll have that through the winter next time. And then here just next to the polytunnel we have some wild lettuce, which just grow wild, but I have planted this purposefully. It's supposed to be a very good painkiller. I've not actually used it as a herb or made any preparations with it. I've just used it as a vegetable, so I can't vouch for how effective it is. Right, we'll go in the polytunnel now, and these are things that I've sowed for winter. We've got some land cress there. There's some radicchio just coming through. That's obviously going to be more for springtime now rather than through the winter. But the mustard leaves have been growing and we've been able to use those. Got a little bit more radicchio there. My potatoes chitting, some of them anyway. Got some rocket, different varieties. And then some oriental greens there. And a few carrots still in the tub. These are the little round ones, so they're quite good for growing in containers. The little gem lettuces that I've just been harvesting the leaves from. And we've actually had quite a bit off there. And then around the other side we've got some more volunteers. And this is bittercress, which is quite a nice spicy little green, and that will appear in your garden by itself usually. It likes recently cultivated land, and it is really tasty. So you can add that to salads, soups, stews, stir fries, whatever you fancy. And then when you want to plant there, just pull it up. Some more kale. And then I've got some garlic that I must have missed some of the bulbs last year because I didn't plant this. It's just popped up. Obviously that's not going to be ready for a few months. My celery that I planted from scraps last year has gone to seed. So I'm hoping that's going to self-seed in here and we'll have some celery appear by itself. And then we've got some more sorrel. So I can harvest in here when it's too frosty outside, because obviously it's not advisable to harvest in the frosts and the snow because you can damage the plants by doing that. Oh, it's getting windy. I've just left the polytunnel and then we'll go down here. I've got some more kale. This has all been quite well harvested now, so there's not a lot left. Got a couple more down there. Got some of the more of the broccoli, sprouting broccoli just appearing. Little bits of chard. A few leeks that are a bit skinny, so I'm leaving them there for a little while and hopefully they'll fill up a bit when the weather starts picking up. A few more kale. And that's about it really. We have a few other little bits and pieces. Oh, let's have a look down here. There's a tiny little piece of cleavers, and this will get going before long and it'll be all over the place, and this is edible and medicinal, so you can put that in your salads or stews, or just chop it up and use it as a garnish, which I do sometimes. We also have chickweed growing. I'll see if I can find some. Just be down here. It's all a bit messy at the moment. I need to get out and sort it out. Oh, come over here. There we go. There we've got some chickweed, some more chard in there as well. We've got some of the lemon balm coming back to life, but I don't think it's going to last very long there. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today because I'm cold and the light's going, so I'm going to get back inside and carry on with my day in there. I hope you've had a lovely Imbolc. Let me know if that's something that you celebrate. Let me know what's growing in your garden at the moment, what plans you've got for getting ready for spring. If you like these videos, please subscribe and share and press the like button, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.